I'm pausing it.
Okay, so what they're saying is that people cannot hear us in Zoom land. Thank you for letting us know.
I'm sorry, anyone in the public, you should be able to hear now.
He says working, okay, no, thank you. Okay, so the first item under public hearings is a proposed text amendment for the Planning and Zoning staff on behalf of the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the Berlin zoning regulations 11 special regulations with a new subsection for the prohibition regarding cannabis establishment uses. Okay, and I think everyone has seen the text amendment. And
Excuse me, just because of that debacle of the muting. I
Okay.
think it would be appropriate to reiterate that the application 5B for the text amendments regarding family daycare are postponed to November 16th and were voted on for that to happen, as well as the proposed text amendments related to the building square requirements also postponed to November 16th. And that the applicant for 5E, the proposed 2-lot subdivision at 65 Savage Hill Road has been postponed to December 7th with an extension provided by the applicant. And that's for the benefit of anyone online who might be here for those items.
Okay,
Thank you for letting me
terrific.
share.
No problem. All right, going back to the cannabis issue. I know that we've had this on the agenda for quite some time. I think I was talking to Maureen about it. I think we had it scheduled like 16 times or something for public hearings. I don't know, Commission, I just open it up and see how you, have you had a chance to review the amendment? It's short and sweet and I like that.
I've reviewed it and I guess the only comment that I have is that I really expected that there would be a lot more public engagement on the topic,
Yeah,
especially considering how many times we've had it on our agenda, and I'm quite surprised at the lack of interest.
yeah. Well, I guess that kind of drives the regulation then.
Yep.
Because it's what the people want. So, anyone else have anything to say? Okay, so what's,
Public hearing.
oh, public hearing, anyone want to? Oh,
Can I make a one clarification?
yes,
We have had and for the record, that add that the multiple sets of information regarding both the legislation, copies of the legislation have all been provided to commission prior to the direction to staff to draft this amendment, as well as samples of regulations from other communities. You've held public information sessions, both within the context of your regular meetings, as well as holding some special ones and special meetings with the town council, all in an effort to provide input so that you'd have input prior to providing direction to staff. And I would like to ask that all those documents that you received and you've looked over all those times be incorporated into the record for your decision
okay. All right,
on this item.
and just go to the public. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item, either for or against? Okay, hearing none. Anyone in Zoom land, I guess? No one. All right, Commission.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, motion to close by Ms. Jorsey. Wait, second by Mr. Hamel.
Nope.
And further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay. Next up is dropping down to item D, the proposed special permit use application of Joseph Cassio at 586 Deming Road for an indoor golf training facility at the property of 586 Deming LLC, MBL 5-3-127-2B. And have we had a chance to look at this?
If I may, I
Yes.
just realized that in your packets, you did not receive the floor plan
Yeah,
of our copy machine size. The plotter had a paper issue, so I copied not the entire sheet, but it is the floor plan to pass out, and Ms. The applicant is here to present his application, but I wanted to provide that. And this is exactly what I have the design. So everyone can read my comments at the appropriate time.
okay, thank you. All right, hi, how are you?
Good evening to the commissioners. My name is Charlie Talmadge. I'm the president of Development Planning Solutions. Our address is 225 North Main Street in Bristol, Connecticut. I'm here this evening representing Mr. Cassio and Mulligan's Virtual Golf Center on their application for special permit and site plan for the change of use as the property at 586 Deming Road. We were engaged in the early spring of this year to work with Mr. Cassio in developing the site plan that was submitted for this project. Ultimately was submitted to the Wetlands Commission for action in regards to the floodplain in the rear of the property, which was approved 2 months ago. And we are here now for the change of use. It's important for us to note that there is extremely little outside work going on the property as a result of this application. This is just strictly a change of use. We are proposing to restripe the parking lot and close one curb cut, but outside of those two items, the lion's share of the work being done at the property is all interior to the building. So we are here just to change the use from industrial to this assembly type use. The proposal calls for 8 virtual golf booths to be constructed inside the facility. So to put that in context, that would at a maximum be 32 players. We anticipate 2 additional staff people to be on site, so a total of 34 individuals would be there at any one time. It is our understanding from doing some industry research into how these facilities operate that most people carpool when they come to these types of facilities. So we are showing 21 parking spaces on the asphalt, which we believe is sufficient for day-to-day operations of the facility. The area behind the building is also a gravel surface. So there is on-site overflow parking, although it's not striped. We do have the ability to park upwards of 40 or 45 cars on the site without spilling over onto any of the neighboring property. I will point out, although it's not a part of this application itself, the neighboring property is also controlled by our landlord. So if there ever was a need to expand parking, that option becomes available. We would then come back to the commission with an amended site plan if parking is a concern. But as it stands right now with this application, we feel very comfortable that the 21 spaces is sufficient. Again, this is a fairly simple application in our view. I think we've done our homework. We know how these things operate. Comfortable that we can operate a facility of this nature in this property. If any of the commissioners have questions, we'll be happy to entertain them. I'll do my best to answer them. If I can't, Mr. Cassio is here and he can certainly answer.
Tim, I see you have your hand up, so.
I just, I count 9 bays, not 8.
You have a revised plan.
Yes, I need your name and address, please. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Joe Cassio. I live in Weathersfield, Connecticut.
Mhm.
I'm proposing the virtual golf facility here in Berlin. Thanks to Charlie, we've been working very diligently to get to this point. As far as the 9 booths, that was the architectural plan that I believe was the first plan had the 9 in there, but there's only 8 that we're proposing for you folks. So
We come in with the earlier application. I don't believe we got a floor plan with the application.
Where is
After
this on
that.
Deming Road?
yeah, my initial write-up does say 8 bays. My apologies. The bay number, that number 9 is gonna be not a 9 bay right now. It's not gonna exist.
Miss Miller, I'm sorry.
It's not gonna be a bay. What will be there?
It'll be open space. Yes.
Thank you.
Whereabouts is this on Deming Road?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yes,
sure.
so Deming Road, the entrance to going, if you were heading east from the Berlin Turnpike, it would be, Home Depot entrance would be on your left-hand side.
Yes,
And we would be right opposite that Home Depot entrance. It used to be the old Micron machine shop owned by the
Oh,
Ty
okay.
family.
oh, okay.
Yes.
So is the one on the corner?
It's
Is that
not,
industrial?
it's
No.
it's right next to the baseball and soccer facility.
Yeah.
Okay,
It abuts our properties
Okay.
abut each other, yes.
all right, okay.
bringing it up on the review.
The Exeter Home Depot. not entrance.
Yeah,
Being a little.
yeah, that's a, yeah, yeah, okay. So you're gonna take over the building and redo it? So is it the brick building you're taking
The
over?
white one.
The white one in the back,
No, it's
the brick faced one? Okay, all right.
painted white now.
It's painted white now. That's an older image, but that's.
Oh. Okay,
So this is the street view from 2019.
So just to round back for the commission's benefit. This bay here, number 9, is the one that's not being constructed. If that's really a critical issue for you folks, we will provide an updated set of floor plans to the planning staff prior to final sign off.
well, it's, I mean, so you said it's just gonna be an open area then?
It is, there's not gonna be any activity there, just open space, but if that is a concern that you want the file to be reflective correctly of what's actually being built, we obviously will have to update this plan to file for a building permit. We can certainly provide that to the town staff then as well.
No, I think that probably the question from the commission would be is that why would you leave that open and not take advantage of it as a bay? Or is it maybe have some restrictions on it which don't help?
It's, we're looking for a more phased in approach to this facility.
Okay,
Felt comfortable with the 8 bays and the amount of parking that was provided for that.
okay,
If the facility is as successful as Mr. Cassio and I feel it will be,
hmm,
there may be an opportunity to expand in the future. His lease for this facility encompasses all 12,000 feet.
okay,
We're only proposing to use 8 at this time.
Hmm.
So if there's a growth of the business, then obviously we would be back to discuss that with you folks in the future.
okay,
And that space may be coming into play then.
all right, okay,
Can I ask for a clarification? to
Sure.
that? It does affect one of my comments, is that, so without that bay, you've taken that out of your square footage? That's,
Well, it's still within that front portion of the facility that's being used for the golf facility. So we would count that as part of the 8,000 that I just mentioned, but it's not
okay.
it's not gonna be
that-
actively
that's what I was
programmed.
clear.
And really, the only reason I was pointing out that Mr. Cassio has control over the full building is when I first met with your planning staff and several other folks here at Town Hall, there was a concern about what happens in the balance of the building from a parking perspective. So I wanted to point out that we actually do control that. So it's not, there's not going to be another tenant moving in that we would have to share parking with or anything like that. We control that. And if and when the use expands, we'll be back to you to discuss that at that point.
questions from the commission? Yep, go ahead, Diane.
Looking at the plan, the floor plan, I see a notation for bar area and bar storage. Is that an indicator that there will be
Mhm.
alcohol or food or smoothies? What kind of a bar is it?
At the moment, that area is being provided for sort of a BYOB arrangement, or if food could be brought in by groups and that area could be utilized. Again, if that changes in the future, there may be some other things that come into play. We are not at this point applying for a liquor license or anything of that nature. It's just going to be an area where folks can congregate with whatever refreshments that they bring with them.
Also, these facilities, the virtual golf facilities, I'm an avid golfer, I've been to many of them. When people do bring food into the facility, which is also allowed, right? We'll embrace people using town, small run businesses and businesses to support community. I don't want to have any of the food traffic being on the, where the people would be playing golf.
Mhm.
Because the turf is very expensive that will be going into those booths. And the last thing you need is staining or
Yeah.
anybody there, and even on the walkways, slip and falls. If someone has a pizza, I don't want to have that cleanup mess. So this will be more of like Charlie said, a place where people would order pizza, order chicken wings, have them brought in, and this is where they would go and have the place to eat.
Yeah, so there'd be no food allowed or beverages allowed in the playing area, so to speak.
That's yes.
Okay,
So will there be tables and chairs provided or?
Very minimal. The tables and chairs that will be in each booth will support the golfers. And there'll be, giving you a ballpark estimate, there'll be about 8 to 10 chairs around that congregational bar area for the people to be able to sit down. There's 2 groups who need at least 8 chairs.
okay.
Any plans for outdoor seating?
Not at this
Okay.
time. We're not proposing actually any outdoor activity at this time.
Okay. Tim, I think you had a question?
Yes, there's only 21 parking places in the front, you said?
There's 21 total. There's
Yeah.
17 or 18 on, you're looking at the site plan on the left side, and there's 5 on the right.
Okay, so you, I'm sorry. Over here, you're putting parking places?
Yeah, if you're looking at the site map, you'll see 17 spaces
I
over
don't
there.
have a site, I don't have a site map.
So,
Oh, I'm on board here.
In your packet,
Thank you.
Tim.
I do have a packet, but I didn't open it up. Sorry.
We didn't have enough large size, like, not distributed, but we don't have enough room to share.
Okay. And how many employees?
There's also 5 over
Well,
here.
there'll be a maximum of 2 employees on site at one
Okay.
time. There may be 4 total employees, but we anticipate 2 at a time.
Sure.
Okay.
Let me look at the big one.
I know you don't like the big ones.
No,
I think the other one's a safe.
I can say what I want to say. Okay. I'm just questioning that most of the park places in the front of the building, some on the left, you're saying. But the area that you said was the gravel in the back of the building. Gravel services.
Actually gravel surface all the way around, so it's kind of a one-way traffic arrangement. It's not.
Okay. With that said. I just want to know if you wanted to designate some of the parking places that are here. At the one towards the rear here or whatever as employee parking and leaving the ones towards the building as people using the facility.
At this time, I don't think we're interested in designating any specific use of parking for customers or employees. As I stated, Mr. Leifschitz, who owns all of these properties, has agreed to allow some employee parking to exist on the neighboring property. So that the goal right now is to leave all of these spaces available for customers. Right here to this where it says existing building here on the right side of the map. There's a driveway associated with that we could use for employees. And that's kind of the direction that we're gonna go with.
And will the landlord provide a letter to the town designating or specifying that some of the overflow parking will happen on a property other than this?
We can get that.
Okay, yeah, just to have it part of the record.
Sure, no problem.
And what will the hours of operation be?
Typically, the hours, so the not nice thing for me is during the summertime,
Yeah.
it's gonna be by appointment only. Because most of the golf is outside at that
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
So the use for the internal facility is really non-existent unless somebody is in 100-degree heat wants to come in and play, then I will open up the facility. But during the playing hours, the weekends, well, it says it in my report here that I wrote to you guys, but I believe on the weekends will be a little bit earlier, so it'll be like 8 in the morning until 9 at night.
Okay,
And the last foursome will be able 4 hours to run a golf if you're playing 18 holes. So a 9 o'clock closing means 8 o'clock last customer coming in for a 1 hour session. So
Yeah.
they may just come in and hit a golf ball or a
Yeah.
bucket of ball, not a bucket of balls, it's virtual. So they're
Yeah.
hitting as many as they can in 1 hour
yeah,
for a fee. And then during the weekdays, it's going to be 9 to 9.
okay, that's weekdays. Thank you.
And there will be 7-day operation.
Do you have a way for the people parking in the parking lot to the west to access the entrance on the east? Looking at the site plan, I don't see a sidewalk or anything.
They would come through that area noted as stone landscaping. That's kind of just a gravel walkway across the front of the building. Brings you over to that paved area and then up towards the main entrance.
Any other questions? Okay, Andrew?
And looking at some of the staff comments from July, there was a comment about additional handicap parking. And on September 19th. Looking at the right one.
We did not, because there is no change to the layout, we did not consider updated comments. Those are the most updated.
So they're requesting another handicap. Are you gonna put another handicap parking in here?
We hadn't considered it. We were just going to go with the one space for handicap for this, the table, 1 to 25. So we have one accessible space for 21. I wouldn't really consider going to a second space until, quite frankly, until we were over a 25 foot, 25 space total, but
Right, because
Sure,
our town
designated.
engineer would suggest the ADA guidelines would be another parking, handicap parking.
So for the comment you received at the time, can I read it right out loud? Is the design team should verify how many handicap spaces are required for the existing warehouse use, golf use, and include the correct number on the plan. One handicap space does not appear to comply with it yet. So you're specifying that it doesn't comply with the one space for the use of the property.
in my experience, the cutoff has always been 25 total spaces, which would trigger a second space.
I would only comment that the building official, monitors the installation and proper designation of handicap spaces, and his comments did not call that out. I didn't challenge to him, and ask that directly, so, but he has been pretty thorough with that comment in the past. And of course, that's code. So if he requires it, they would be required to change the plan before he would allow the occupancy.
Anyone else? Yeah, June.
You had mentioned that you weren't going to identify parking spaces for specific parking. Yeah, how about the handicap parking? Is that something we could have identified?
That's designated as
Okay,
a space.
alright.
I should have qualified that. We're not reserving any parking or anything other than the handicap, but that is shown on the plan with the handicaps logo and the required hatched area.
And you had mentioned that you had the ability to add parking if needed in the future. How many spaces would you have available to add if you needed it?
The neighboring property is significantly sized. So, and on really the growth of the business, we could probably add another 40 or 45 spaces if we had to, but that's more than we want to take on at this time.
Right, I just wanted to,
There's a significant opportunity to grow the parking field if it becomes necessary.
Okay.
And that growth would take place on 576 Deming. It's the neighboring parcel. So we would, if that's the direction that things head, by the way, that's a positive thing. If
Would
we're
be
getting
good.
Yeah.
that much use, but then we would come back to you folks with a site plan for that property to show the expansion of parking.
Okay, all right, terrific. Anyone else here?
Yeah, with that handicap spot, the police chief's asking for the handicap spot. A second, handicap spot. I think they know the, regulations, for ADA. I would think the applicant would want to know that regulation with the ADA, because ADA is pretty powerful with any non-compliance So, if the police chief's asking for it, I would like to see some ADA regulations, for that.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed that comment. I saw it on I was also reading it from the town engineer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's in two places. There's the police chief and the town engineers asking for that, so. I think it's gotta be close or required, one or the other.
If it's a concern of the commission, we could add a second handicap space. Unfortunately, we'll take the total of parking down to 20. Agreeing with Mr. Cassio, he still feels comfortable with that number. So if that's the direction that commission would like to see us go, we would add that space and provide an updated plan prior to final sign off.
okay,
That's the reason, one of the reasons I asked if you would have employee parking towards the rear of the building, you haven't. You're saying that there's 8 bays and there's 4 people per bay or 32 people. Yes, I understand people carpool. But that 20 really makes it down tighter. If there's employees parking in the 20 places, so there's 5 employees. There's down to 15 park places for the people.
2 employees.
Okay.
And we will provide that letter that the. employees
yeah,
park on.
I think that that's very
I
important.
mean, just even an arrow on the building, employee parking to the rear of the building, whatever, you know,
Yeah,
because it's gravel back there, so. No reason that they couldn't park back there.
okay. Any other questions or should, yes,
Officer Bulbeck, letter with relation to the parking,
yes, please.
it relates to the locations as well. Dated 1/4/2023 to Chief McNally from Officer Tom Bulbeck, 586 Fleming Road. I have reviewed the special permit application for Mulligan Virtual Golf located at 586 Deming Road. The only traffic issue to note is the number of parking spaces proposed. Berlin Town Code, section 17-52 requires 2 handicap designated spaces if the site has parking between 26 and 50 vehicles. In the applicant's site plan, there are 22 proposed parking spaces labeled with an additional 24 spaces labeled as possible parking. So that was the previous plan, correct? So we did not see the plan that shows only the 21 spaces that you are currently looking at. In the applicant's letter submitted with his application, he stated that at least some of those possible parking spaces were to be used by employees, making those spaces more probable than possible. For this reason, I recommend the additional 1 additional space, designated parking space for a total of 2 on site, and that space on the higher number of parking spaces
Mhm.
proposed before the plan was reduced. I didn't realize we reduced those parking spaces when realigned the driveways as staff had requested.
So just to reiterate, we
Question.
are in compliance with ADA showing 1. We don't have an objection of adding a second, if that's something the commission desires.
Okay,
We'll leave that to you to provide us some guidance on that.
You just stated in your presentation that there is another 24 available in the back because it's gravel parking in back and it won't be lined, but there's available space for 24. So I do recommend 2 handicap park places.
We'll update the plan to reflect that.
all right, terrific. Anyone else? Because I'm gonna go over to the public. Unless,
I
yep,
just have one other comment that I neglected.
yes,
Um, if you're looking at the plan, you see this heavy gray line in the back. That is the limit of the regulated floodway. The Wetlands Commission did restrict some activity in that area.
Mhm.
It was more related to outdoor storage of materials and
Yeah.
overnight uses. But in the interest of transparency, we want to just note that the Wetlands Commission did seriously review that area back there, and they had some stipulations of their own.
okay,
In further response to that, a casual conversation with the wetlands agent and, storage, all the stipulations provided by wetlands is certainly a factor. They he does not believe there's an objection to the casual parking
Mhm.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly a plan that would require, and a requirement of parking for additional parking that would require wetlands review if it was, um, official parking. However, he noted likely that there's, it could be used for a casual basis. It's not in the floodway. If there's a flood, there's a lot
Yeah,
items out there that would be in the way.
That's really also the reason why the gravel surface is proposed to remain as is. We're not proposing to
yeah,
pave back there in the floodway, which would be a regulated activity, so.
exactly. June, I know you had your hand up, thanks.
That's all right. Sorry, my mind is going. So where is the next nearest location similar to the golf business that you have? So like a town over, a couple towns over.
You actually have one right here in Berlin, about 1 mile from, 3/4 of a mile from our
Mhm.
facility, heading west
Denman Group.
across the Berlin Turnpike, yeah. And that is
Yeah.
one of the other, competitors that I've actually played at. Monitored parking, seen what they have for parking. They have 4 booths, we have 8. They have less than we do as far as parking spots, and they have a insurance agency in the front utilizing some of those spots too. So it's not, and when we talk parking, we're talking worst case scenarios, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I understand that because I wouldn't want to have to turn away a patron because we don't have enough parking, right?
Mhm.
That's money out of my pocket. I do really feel that in my research of looking at the other establishments, there's one in Glastonbury, there's one in Wallingford, there's one in Avon. It might be Canton, but they're all around, and there's one in Glastonbury that just opened up. There's 2 in Glastonbury now. So it is, competition is healthy. I think the parking is not non-issue. And I will say that when you try to book a tee time today to go outside and play golf, you can't get one, right? Unless you book a week in advance.
yep,
So with the amount of the facilities that are opening up in and around the town of Berlin, Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, Cromwell, Wallingford, it is great to have other facilities because if I am full, they are not, or they are full and I can handle their overflow, vice versa. We all work together, and I think it's very healthy.
good.
Yeah, I was just thinking through it, trying to figure out how easy or hard it is to estimate if people would always drive together in anticipation of how many parking lots, but you've addressed it well, I think.
The other thing I'd like to note and have it on record is that a year and a half ago, when I first came to you folks, one of my promises was to grow the golf tournaments in Berlin and work with the town and the high school, and also with the golf courses here in town and around the surrounding towns, to also bring and facilitate at a lesser price the ability to practice year round and continue to maintain the levels that they need to be at for high school competitions. And
Mhm.
that's both women's and men's teams that don't have a place to practice in the winter. And it's if you haven't looked at the cost
Yeah.
of each of these booths, and I'll just throw it out there, it's upwards of $90,000 per booth
Wow,
when it's all said and done. And that is the limiting factor of doing 8 or 9 at this moment in time. So I would work with the town, the school systems, the surrounding courses to make it even more viable to continue the golf year round for the town and for
Yeah.
the surrounding areas.
excellent, thank you.
So-
Another one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
sorry.
okay, no, no, no.
And just help me with the bring your own food in, and whether we need a liquor license or not, and the commission can help me. So can they bring in alcohol, or they're not allowed to bring alcohol in if a license isn't had for the facility?
The licensing is required for,
Sale.
Sales,
sales and alcohol, bring your own, does not require a liquor permit. And, liquor licensing, which I was also going to mention during my comments, would require approval from the zoning board of appeals. Our regulations are a special permit, from the zoning board of appeals for the location.
Thank you.
And and any food service would require, health district review as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
And last question.
Sure.
Do we care what's in storage at all? Cause it's quite a few 12,000 square feet storage, I think, right?
So as the single sole occupant of 586 Deming Road, gone through a life-changing event in the last year, okay, which is put me in a disability category. Nothing that we're gonna sit here and cry about. Something you should know as to why I have the whole building. I had 3 houses and I cannot maintain the houses any longer. It's a vision issue. And so my houses have all been consolidated and the furniture, the
Yeah.
clutter, let's put it that way, right? It's just all in there.
It's in the back.
Yeah, it's all, it's all in there. So, at this point in time, if I didn't have, this happening, I probably would have found a different spot, but it just happened to all come together and work well.
Okay, all right. Sorry for your trouble, but
Thank you.
glad that things are going positively for you.
They are.
So good, 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 good. All right, and now I'm gonna go over to the public because we are in the public hearing. So is anyone who would like to comment on this application, now would be the time. And I see we have a taker.
Where's the red and white shirt?
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris Edge, 240 Kensington Road in Berlin. I am very happily here today. I have been working with Mr. Cassio and Mr. Charlie for about 18 months. This building is something that I've been working on since before I even started almost 9 years ago. Mr. Mahoney had gotten a grant for the owner at that point. This was a machine shop and it had sat vacant for, best I can tell, at least 15 years. It's a challenging property because its ceiling heights make it obsolete for industrial. Right now, every industrial piece of property in central Connecticut, unless it either has some major issues environmentally or landlord issues, and they're not agreeable. Sorry, this is not a viable property for industrial. The second piece is it is in a BT2 zone, which is essentially retail, office, and restaurant. None of those 3 are going in this building. This is a use that, even though it is competition for the one up the road, it is different. The other one essentially is run by a golf pro. It is more of a training facility. Kyle Gallo, who I would say is probably one of the better golfers that Berlin has ever produced, is the one that runs that one. This one is going to be more public oriented. BYOB and bring your own food is so people can bring friends, family, as well as even coworkers. This is a trend we're seeing in a couple different businesses right now where BYOB is easier for the businesses, both from a liability standpoint, but also a cost standpoint. They don't need to bring their own alcohol. We actually had a young lady who actually started a business making charcuterie boards. She opened up a storefront so you can take your friends down with BYOB and make charcuterie boards. You know, it was a business, but it's kind of cool. That's what COVID has done and brought up creativity. With this building, Joe is an avid golfer, has a great list of contacts. I know he knows folks at both golf courses, and I would agree. Our golf courses are pretty crazy, especially our own golf course. I think it'll take pressure off. And I think too is partnerships between my office, Joe is doing the golf courses and others. It's a great way to also help local organizations, even like football teams, Little League, on doing fundraisers. I know too that this is something that especially too, as a population is aging, going out for 9 or 18 holes on an 89-degree day isn't in everybody's best interest. So I am in full support of this. This is a property that, again, has been really challenging. We had come to you, well, months ago, plus or minus, to get the language added. So it is something that really makes sense. It's going to be a use for a building that I think otherwise would sit there vacant. Joe is looking to make a large investment, and the good thing is the property owner has been working very closely with us, the entire building, I should say, to make this a reality. So I just want to tip my hat to them for their persistence, because I know that it's been a challenge because it is a building that has limited viability, but I'm excited about it because it's another entrepreneur coming to Berlin.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or commission? Oh, yep. Yeah, well, anyone from the public? Anyone online? All right, Diane. Okay.
Just 2 questions, pertaining to the exterior. As to whether or not there's any plan to, enhance any of the landscaping, maybe beautify the front of the building a little bit. And then the other question has to do with lighting. And any plans to either add or make changes to lighting. Just so, you know,
At this point, getting through this stage will allow us to make those determinations going forward. Lighting pretty much is, there is a large lamp on the telephone pole that's existing. It illuminates the entire parking lot. But there is no change that I'm proposing at this time.
and landscaping.
The landscaping, as far as the building looks now, it does and has been, and this, the grass has been grown and the flower beds have been enhanced.
And I'm sure that I'm sure that we'd be willing to work with staff on that too. How about signage?
Actually, great question. And the gentleman that I had the sign made for this planning and zoning hearing asked me the same question, and I really hadn't even thought about it. And so it was it's just something, this is my first business that I've ever tried to open. So he actually gave me I gave him the dimensions of the building, and he told me how big the sign could be, and I was rather shocked. He said that would be rather expensive. But the referral came from Chris Edge, and is another business in Berlin that I used. I think it's called Vital Signs. And so he will work with me on signage, and there was a Micron sign on the building, but I would work with whatever the regulations are with the commission and the town for approval on that.
And you will be willing to work with staff on landscaping, right?
Absolutely. If you'd like to put your gardening gloves on and come on over, I could use your help.
Okay.
You just volunteered. That train came down track again.
We went that far.
You have any other questions?
I have several comments.
Okay, go ahead.
So in the narrative that you received, and I will comment that even despite not getting my staff report, I crossed off a bunch of things with your questions that I already had. So thank you to the commission for that. In the narrative that was provided, he did say that the employees will have their own dedicated parking on the west side of the building to maximize the east side lot for the patrons of Mulligan's. And I just want that re-clarified for the record, one way or another, and for your consideration. So the parking requirement and needed will need to be determined by the commission. It's not a use that has parking defined in the regulations for the use. And I would suggest that any expansion, as you consider the parking, any expansion into portions of the building not identified on the floor plan as storage, they would have to return for zoning compliance for those parking spaces, whether it's zoning compliance with the staff for already improved surfaces or installation of additional. And in order to consider parking on the adjacent properties as part of your requirement, you should have an easement in place. If it's casual, okay, this should be enough parking, but you can obtain the overflow, you already have, you won't be, you're just recommending that they not trespass on another site, but instead have an informal agreement for overflow or something, then, but you're not counting it towards what you're requiring for them. I think that's fine for 570, which, although in a separate entity, he also owns, right?
Correct.
Right, that's owned by the same owner. But right now it's kind of paved land to the east to the next building over. They are going to be taking up some of that pavement along this area and have sod, but at least in the Google Street View, this is all paving right up to this next building, so we wouldn't want, or across the street at Home Depot Plaza, we wouldn't want was counted as their parking spaces. And so I get that clarification, then I'll go on.
So just speaking with Mr. Cassio while you were making that comment, we think the easiest way to handle that would be to have him get with Mr. Lyschetz and formally amend the lease for 586 to include those spaces on 570 in a designated area. And then we could provide the commission a copy of the lease that shows where they are and what the terms for their use would be.
Cross agreement.
My concern would, my only concern would be, the acknowledgement that if, should that lease end, that you would have to return to the commission, I would, or to zoning for the evaluation of their, the number of spaces, because that would then, or if the lease should end, they would become non-compliant without it. An easement
you
would be
could-
in perpetuity, lease is for the length of the lease. I think that's unreasonable. Again, that would be only a matter of if those are counted towards what the commission will be requiring for parking.
So
I might suggest at this time, if you feel the 21 spaces is adequate and possibly 20 spaces, should another space become handicapped without a reconfiguration, allowing 21, that then it's only as he expands into the other space with that we worry about the additional space. That'd be my suggestion. Get all that?
Yeah.
Anyway, was I not? I can repeat it. I know what I said this time.
Or whatever, designating from the person you're renting from or their space, advising that you have an option to use the additional 10 or 15 spaces. I think that will be
I
great.
guess the simplest way, and now I'm just thinking out loud here, I guess the simplest way to handle that, we could provide that letter that outlines what the rights are to parking on
Yeah.
the neighboring property. You as a commission, if you were inclined to, could put some stipulation on the special permit that
Mhm.
said that if those rights ever went away, that we would have to come back to you and
Well, yeah.
designate where they would be.
Mhm. Yeah. Because it would put you in non-compliance or whatever.
I just note in relation to that, that without having that information, we didn't look at 570 Deming Road's use and parking for them. That has to be supplied on that property prior to giving away any of their spaces. That analysis would have to be done.
Just to be clear, we're talking about 576 Deming, the neighboring property, not 570.
Actually,
It's the single family house that's in between
It's-
us. In the,
so I'll bring up the
Sure.
yes. This property to the right, lot 2A has has been assigned the address numbers 552, 570, and 576 are all on lot. Oh, I'm not sharing. They're a new share. So this
Talking about-
lot right here,
Okay.
this is the property subject to this application. This lot is the next lot over. It has assigned, these red numbers are the addresses assigned by the town for that parcel. It has multiple buildings, one that goes over, but the lot itself, lot 2A has been, wait for it to pop up. Has been assigned the address 570 for the property. That goes with the lot number. So a lot gets a number. And then if there are individual uses and or buildings on the property, those get individual address numbers, but that's not, or mailing address numbers, as opposed to the official address of this adjoining property is lot 2A 570.
And that's
make sure the letter reflects 570 in lot 2A.
okay.
This is an old aerial. A lot of this has been out and cleared up and so it really is not reflective of the condition right now. But I guess it's the house. The house and what was the glass guy, right? The glass guy was in there.
That is not the property that we're looking at. That was where the glass guy was, but it was Bob Larson's family's house next to that building that you're talking about, which is a white ranch. Which is adjacent to 586 Deming. It's more easterly of the glass guy's building. That's it right there.
But the glass building does encroach. Or it appears to. You know, the property lines are blurred between the several properties. The building.
And again, that street view is an older image as well. It
Go
doesn't
further?
show the.
It is an older picture,
Yeah, it doesn't show that curb cut right about where your cursor is.
which was going to be one of my comments. There is now a curb cut in this location.
Is it paved between the two
It
buildings?
has Millings put down between the two properties
Back,
around this side. I did not find a site plan that sanctioned that. And again, these are more of my comments that if you're ready for them, we'll go for it.
may I address that curb cut for a second? You mind?
Sure.
Or we're on the topic of conversation because on February 1st of 2023, when I was called here to a meeting with the fire marshal, the town engineer, Maureen and her assistant, Mr. Lyschatz, and Chris Edge. On that day, Chris Edge went down to the vault. And actually, this was the old Micron Engineering Shop, and that's where their deliveries were made. Now, the Micron Engineering Shop hadn't been in existence for 15 years, so there was a lot of overgrowth.
Mm-hmm.
That curb cut on the paperwork that Mr. Edge found, it show a curb cut approved for that building for Micron. And that back building is where the golf facility is going to go. And that back building was approved by the town back in 1984, I believe it was.
So I want to accept that explanation from the staff standpoint. Both Jim Horrible and I commented, we saw an approved plan. However, the location where Chris found that, we couldn't find today in the engineering vault. It must be, we couldn't find a reference to it. We looked for it. But Jim and I both did remember, didn't we see a plan that had that curb cut? And so I acquiesce and say that there is a plan with that curb cut that was approved because that was the topic at that time. I couldn't find it this week. And so I left it in as a comment because Jim and I are like, well, without the plan, we saw other plans.
So the curb cut is where those two signs are?
Just beyond. Right about where the arrow is now.
Call before you, yeah. No, it's right here. So there's the curb cut there.
It's there. It's
Those-
reflected on the survey that it is there.
Okay.
And if I go back to the other,
Oh, yeah, landscaping would look really nice on that building. I think it would pop the attention of people going by.
the concern I do have with where the driveway has been reinstalled to go around the building here with millings on this side is that it encroaches into the next property. There is sufficient, appears to be by my measuring of the site plan, sufficient room to have the 24-foot width here without encroaching on the other property. And I would suggest the applicant address whether or not the encroachment can be removed and or addressed or released, subject to an easement if it's necessary to have it encroached, but the engineer could tell us if it is necessary. I don't know if it is.
Again,
That's a
again,
24-foot driveway width, and it's particularly if it was one way. I think you guys said it's basically a one-way drive that and more than 24 would not be required. 24 is not even required for one way. I suggest keeping it 2 if they can make it.
but just to reiterate, both properties are under the same ownership. If it were to become an issue in the future, potential sale or whatever, we would address that issue with a lot line revision.
Okay. Yeah, Sandra.
I hope this is a simple question. I'm looking at your, site plan here and people are gonna be bringing food in and beverages. Are you asking them to take it out? Are you gonna have a dumpster here? Or are you gonna be using the town, facility?
Once the facility is open, we will need a dumpster and we will put that on the east side of the building.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Right. Anyone from the public? Nope. Okay. What's the flavor of the commission? We've heard a lot of testimony.
So add one final comment before
Oh, okay.
deliberates. I just would like to acknowledge the work that the staff has done to help guide us through this process. It has been a long time coming, but they have been very helpful, very accommodating. Thank them and you for your work to get us to this.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Jorsey to
second.
close, second by Ms. Millard. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay. Yeah, so that is closed. One moment, please. Okay, old business. The application of 1906 LLC prepared, 1906 Berlin LLC prepared by Christopher J. Smith Esquire, Alter and Pearson LLC, submitted pursuant to the General State Statutes 8-30G, Affordable Housing Land Use Appeals. Item 1 is the proposed zone text amendment to create the new 11EE planned residential infill development, inclusionary multifamily residential use with the housing opportunity or workforce component. And we want to do these one at a time, right?
So one thought that council and I were just conferring on is given the close of the public hearing on 586 Deming Road, if you were inclined to think you might have a short deliberation on that, you might want to move that deliberation up. I do realize you have a public here with regard to presumably the other applications that you'll be deliberating, but I just wondered if
It's the pleasure of the commission.
then Just a-
So now make a motion. All right, item
But item F to the beginning and the end, sorry, my mic wasn't pressed.
that, no, item,
F, it's
I thought it was D.
Deming Road,
No, item D.
it's F.
Where the hell is he?
Bottom.
Yeah, they get new letters in the after because you didn't have everything in the public hearing.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
go ahead. All right, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, so moved. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed special permit and site plan application. Joseph Cassio at 586 Deming Road, subject to staff comments.
Point out that I brought on the screen, if you're inclined, if you're not.
I can't read them.
Yeah, we can-
Okay.
Somebody else will have to read them to me.
I can't. I- One second.
No, that's okay. She's working.
I'm actually just mumbling on the fact that I can't get this, increase in
Yeah.
size.
We're trying to increase the size so that I myself have problem reading this and I'm not gonna turn around.
So some of them may have been addressed, but
Would you like me to read the comments into the record?
Diane, would you like him to read
I
the
can
comments?
do it.
He'll do it. If you want him to.
I'm fine, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright.
Because I'm not gonna turn around.
So number 1, site improvements including limits of paved parking, striping and signage be installed prior to occupancy. 2, site plan modified for staff comments and include utility services to the buildings to be shown on the plan. B, parking statistics modified as approved by the commission for the use. 3, any work in the state ROW, including landscaping or modifications to approved drives requires permitting from the CT DOT prior to commencement. 4, the applicant should confirm the landscaping to remain and or describe enhancements determination to the satisfaction of the commission. 5, the commission should determine if proposed 21 parking spaces is adequate for the use. 6, install additional handicap per PD comment if necessary. 7, proposed installed gravel driveway along westerly neighbor should be rectified if ownership changes. 8, the applicant should confirm the use square footages for the entire building for A, the specificity on any approved special permit and remaining non-conforming use, and explained at hearing. B, the commission to determine parking requirements for the special permit use. 9, any expansion into the remaining proposed warehouse and storage area of the building would require modification to the special permit use with demonstration of adequate parking. 10, occupancy of the proposed special permit use in the BT2 zone will supersede and extinguish any previous non-conforming use of the building. 11, any tenant build out and signage shall require building permits, which include zoning sign off. 12, any lighting or landscaping modifications would require zoning review for determination of compliance and or need for commission review, including dumpster location and screening.
Okay. Diane, do you like that motion? Or,
Not done.
oh, we're not done. Oh,
Sorry.
13, any remaining outside storage of materials and equipment would be required to be cleaned up and compliant with the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission approval. 14, any forthcoming department comments should be addressed. 15, any change to area for BYOB food or liquor services would require further zoning review.
okay. Does that cover it?
I think that covers it. I don't recall any staff comment regarding lighting. So I'll restate the motion to approve the proposed special permit use and site plan application of Joseph Cassio at 586 Deming Road for an indoor golf training facility, subject to staff comments, with the addition of staff approval of any lighting modifications that are required.
Okay,
And signage also would be either subject to staff review.
yeah, either staff review or commission approval.
That's my
Okay,
motion. I hope you like it.
I'll second that motion.
okay. Ms. Jorsey has the motion, Mr. Rogan has the second. Further discussion, all those in favor? Aye, those opposed, so moved. Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
all right.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Good luck. Looking forward to those nice flowers. Gonna get those flowers. Well, you want to make it a showcase. People drive by and go, oh, what happened here? What is this? place?
We want to go there.
We want to go there. All right, old business. Let's move on to the applications of 1906 Berlin LLC, which I started reading before. And this was the first up is the proposed zone text amendment, which was creating the planned residential infill development with the inclusion area of the multifamily residential and use of the housing opportunity or the workforce housing component. So I'm just gonna put all this other stuff away. Anyone want to start in with the deliberations?
So if I can just comment, your counsel, Jennifer
Oh.
Capola, for the record. You had directed myself as well as staff and your consultants to prepare certain items for you with regard to both the text amendment as well as the site plan application. And we did work on a motion to deny the site plan application, which is the next item that you did not read in. And after quite a bit of discussion, and I see Mr. Tralder on as well. He's on participating via Zoom tonight. After quite a bit of discussion, our thought was that if you are inclined to deny the site application, that it did not make much sense for you to, in fact, adopt a regulation that would be applicable to the subject properties. So we decided not to pursue the drafting of the regulation on your behalf. We think you need to determine what you'd like to do with regard to the site plan. We do have a draft site motion to deny the site plan for you, and I will distribute that. And it is a draft. We want to kind of get your sense, want you to take a look at it. It's long, but not that long. It's about 4 pages long. And it gives, we touch on certain points. So we'd like you to take a look at that. You do have to decide the text amendment application by November 11th. You have to decide, I think you have until, did we say December 15th? On the site plan, is that right? Sorry, I didn't pull that up.
So the text amendment, the 1906 must decide by November 11th. The site plan for 1906 is by December 6th.
Thank you.
So I would just suggest to you that perhaps you pass this for a moment and take a look at the motion been drafted. So if you want to read item B into the record, or you want to do it, obviously it's the related site plan. Because you could potentially want to direct us to do a motion for denial on the text amendment, which would potentially include some of what is discussed in
Secretary, read the second one.
in this motion. Oh, okay. So it might be helpful for them to have the text.
So what I'll do is say, because we were talking about the proposed zone text amendment, and then the second part of that was the application for a site plan approval to permit a 52 unit multi-family residential community known as Spruce Brook Apartments on real properties known as 1906 Berlin Turnpike. This is map 21-2, block 115, lot 7. 1934 Berlin Turnpike, which is map 21-2, block 115, lot 8, and 0 Berlin Turnpike, which is map 21-2, block 115, lot 8A. Right.
And that July, I think the July one was the last one. I know we have this issue. And I know there's a typo. There's always a typo. You know, we make changes and I don't know what happens. That's okay. It's playing Jeopardy.
I think my original thought with the, with coming up with our own, text amendment was, in the interest of trying to demonstrate a level of cooperation.
Did say that.
And, but, I think what your suggestion is with respect to considering the two items, the ultimate, decision on the items as a combined application, I agree that it doesn't make sense to
We
do a text amendment.
struggling with it.
Yeah,
This idea of, you know, what would the recommendations be? When the direction that you were going in was to deny the site plan, right? So, which is why we ultimately decided that we wouldn't go down the path. We'd have the conversation with you. We'd let you take a look at where we were going in terms of the motion, deny the site plan. Were we on, you know, are we on the right track with what you want to say about the particular elements of the plan? You know, that had outstanding issues and so forth, as you pointed out. In the initial feedback you gave to us. You know, this is a process. Unfortunately, you know, we've got a situation with the text amendment where, you know, we closed it out earlier than the site plan because of outstanding issues with not being able to close the site plan earlier.
Mm.
Right? So, you know, I think what we would probably recommend, and, you know, again, Glenn is online, Maureen's here, is if you're looking at a motion to deny and what the content is, and if, you know, the majority is inclined to go down that path, you know, we could draft a motion to deny the text amendment as well, but it would necessitate you having a special meeting to deal with that, you know, before November 11th.
So in making a motion to deny the text amendment, we would need to be equally diligent in stating the reasons why.
Yes.
Which was, part of the record, or do we need to deliberate on all of that tonight? Because we have discussed the concerns that we've had with respect to, the, points that, Mr. Chalder, brought to our attention with respect to limitations that the proposed text amendment would put on the town and on the commission's ability to ask for certain information. The 40 years, the 40-year deed restriction was something that the applicant was unwilling to budge on. And that I know that there were other specific, the density issues we had concerns with, and so there were specific things. I can find my notes if we need them, but there were lots of important points that Mr. Chalder brought to our attention that the applicant was unwilling to make any change to or compromise with us on. which was what was prompting me to want to find some level of cooperation or, try to work towards compromise by considering more simplistic language.
There's also a point about the administrator. Who was going to administer the applications or the reapplication, because that was done on a yearly basis via the affordability for the units there. And it was a question of, was this person actually qualified to do it?
Well, so in Mr. Childers,
And then wasn't there an easement that was needed by the neighbor?
yes, but that would
That
be
was
on the site plan.
That was on the site plan. Yeah.
Just with regard to the affordability plan, yes, that would be a site plan issue. That is something that we can add if it's not presently in the motion. Again, this is why I wanted you to kind of
Mhm.
see what, in our opinion, we felt, was appropriate. It's a draft to again give you a direction that you can. This is the process that we've gone through when we've done this previously. We give you a draft, you give us input, we revise it, we come back to you. We have more back and forth and likely finalize it at that point within the meeting. So if you want to give us input on the motion to deny, you've given us some direction now on just with the comments initiated by Commissioner Jorsey with regard to the text amendment. A refreshing of recollection, so to speak, about what the comments were. And certainly, we will go back within the record and review the recordings to all those items. But I think you have given a good summation with the comments too from the other commissioners received as far as that text amendment is concerned. But if you would like us to add something about the administrator and the deed restriction, we're happy to do that as well. Because
the text
those are
amendment.
other matters that can be, I consider to fall into that category of other matters that you can lawfully consider, so to speak. In my opinion.
But you're speaking regarding the text amendment, including language about the administrator of the plan.
Well, the affordability plan is really something that accompanies the site plan. So we can put it in that motion. I don't believe, my recollection is that it is not in. If you could please, Ms. Juicy, scroll through. I don't believe that. Recollection is that it's not in the text amendment.
I would like to say something about the C, it says emergency apparatus and equipment and personnel to the rear egress of the buildings.
We're not on this yet.
We're not, no, we're only talking
Oh,
about
don't
the text
text me.
amendment.
Okay, I read.
Still talking about the text amendment. That's okay.
I read this. one.
That's okay. That's all right.
Sorry.
Just,
I recall correctly, I think there was discussion of whether or not the requirement of the affordable plan be in
So
that conversation.
Mr. Childers' report to us of October 10th, which, well, it was a combined report. On page 7, section 6 is where the comments are with respect to the regulation. And there is a notation with respect to designation of administrator.
Well, because we did have that back and forth too
Yes.
about, if we put it in a regulation.
it have to be
Because it's not
qualified.
currently in any of your other affordable regulations.
Mhm.
So if we were to rewrite, that would be something that we would write in.
Mhm.
But the inability, to control that
Mhm.
and the interest of obviously the units being maintained as affordable.
Yep.
That's tied to that. I mean, that's part of it.
Mhm.
So in terms of adding it to the ocean that you have before you, again, on the site plan,
Mhm.
may make sense to do that if you're inclined to do that.
I agree. I guess I'm a little confused if we need to include it as part of the motion also for the text amendment. That's what I'm trying to get.
That it's not in there, the
Right.
absence of it.
Yes. And so I'm seeing also the notation on equitable dispersion of the affordable units, and one of my recollections from earlier comments of Mr. Chalder was with respect to the order in which the affordable units would be developed. And I don't know, I can't really think of the right term to use for that, but basically that the affordable units would be built consecutively with the market rate
Yeah.
and not held off or postponed to a later date.
Typically, it is proposed a third unit before be an affordable unit.
Yeah.
Then you have a question on affordable units, the side entrance of the affordable units instead of the front entrance. Sidewalk going to the side entrance of each affordable unit. I know he had a question about that. He's online though.
That's for the site.
Yeah.
Talk about next. Oh, straight.
Yeah, we're still in the text. Okay, that's no problem. Not a problem. We're all set. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else we missed with the text amendment. I think everything else belongs to the site plan. So I think we hit all the major parts, the administrator and the affordability, the length of the affordability. And everything else we talked about, the density and the setbacks,
And the information submission, well, the submissions to the commission.
mhm. All right. I guess we're gonna have a special meeting.
Text up, if anyone has any portion you want me to scroll to, or you wanna, I mean, do a page at a time or something,
Well.
or anything, just let me know, otherwise. Fine, and most of you probably have it in front of you regardless.
I know there's a lot of stuff.
I'll resurrect my copy to refer to when we review it at our special meeting.
Yeah. Which is when's the special meeting gonna be?
Reasons for the
What are we
deny
proposing?
the text amendment. Should we have our story of the town of Berlin, being proactive and with this and,
That is of record. And you're speaking of the affordable housing
Affordable housing
regulations.
regulations that we have in place
Yes.
have been proactive for the last 20 years and has got our number raised up to the 9% something. And the potential of the units coming in. That all should be stressed that we are proactive on the affordable units. With the Deming Road CHFA, that will bring us very close. Okay, and those COs are coming in pretty quick here. So I think they'll be in before the end of the year, at least. I don't know, maybe already.
So so I will go again through the record with regard to what the prior comments were. As will staff, we'll check our notes as well.
So if
the
we were,
meetings.
if we were to have a special meeting,
So our thought, we have discussed this, our thought was to potentially do to hold a special meeting on next Thursday, which is November the 11th
November 11th,
or 9th.
Nice.
Oh, I apologize.
nice.
The 10th is celebrated as Veterans Day for some.
Okay,
Town Hall is open. Anyway, so that's not an issue, but
so that's the
I'm
9th.
just trying to give everyone perspective of the week. Tuesday is election day next week, so we were trying to avoid that. And the day after.
And still comatose. Okay. And then so on Thursday,
Seemed to be,
but what time on Thursday? Can we move it earlier? We just, yeah, it's gonna be, well, because daylight savings time is gonna happen this weekend. Yes. In just a couple days, we fall back, fall down.
I could do 6 then if you wanted.
How's everyone? You're out of town, Tim, 6,
That's Thursday.
you cannot be here on Thursday. I think, well,
So that's not, no, no. So in terms of the folks who cannot be here next Thursday, can you do Wednesday?
okay,
Can do Wednesday.
Wednesday, she's still no good. Well, not, I didn't mean that. in derogatory. All right, so that will be the 8th. The 8th of November.
There's no ability to participate remotely, on Thursday for either of you. Okay, that's just possible. So,
That'll be an expensive remote.
so I think that, it sounds like,
Wednesday,
Wednesday makes the most sense.
and what time? 6 PM?
Excuse me, staff is indicating, what about Monday?
The day before the election?
I have a conflicting meeting, but I can.
What?
That's actually,
What, but Monday,
well, that's really not appropriate at this stage for you to do that.
so Monday? I'm going to be here at the town hall anyway, and I will probably be here till 4:30 or 5. So I can start anytime you guys want.
And so do we have all 7 regular members for Monday?
Monday,
Well, maybe that makes the most sense then. And,
okay,
we're gonna be only focusing on, these
Yep.
matters, I think.
So
we'll
it
have a
shouldn't be a-
discussion about that.
so Monday, November 6th. And I can do anything from 5 o'clock on, or, yeah, because the town hall's open at what, 4:30? Yeah.
I'm just gonna make sure there's.
Doc McIntosh?
I'm gonna look at the calendar.
We're just here. We cannot go late on Monday because I have a very early, I could be back here
No, it's
before 5
it's
a.m.
fine.
You might as
She'll,
well
she'll notice it.
I probably will just camp out. The 6th,
So it looks like there's only 2 meetings in town hall, so not be a problem.
okay. So, and what time will you want to start? You guys?
6 p.m. works for me.
Everybody okay with 6? Everyone's all right?
6? I can go earlier.
Good.
Anything earlier than 6?
What time
will it be Nope.
getting dark
3:30. Yeah,
Sorry, I can do earlier than too.
but Scott's saying no.
6 is good.
6 is good. Okay. 6,
Okay.
6 p.m. I'll go home and come back.
So if you can, please make a motion to continue the deliberation of the text amendment. So to Monday,
Here. Okay, so this is gonna be
November the 6th, 6 p.m.
November.
I'll make a motion to continue deliberation on the proposed. Thanks, Tim. Make a motion to continue deliberation on the proposed zone text amendment to create a new section 11EE, planned residential infill development, inclusionary multifamily residential use with a housing opportunity or workforce housing component in association with the application for 1906 Berlin LLC to be on November 6th at 6 p.m.
Okay, and that's gonna be for both items.
This
That
just
is-
the one.
Well,
the
we're,
text.
you're making a
Just for the
motion just
text.
on the text amendment
Okay,
at this point. And then I would like to talk about the draft motion that you have on the site plan.
so we have the motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Okay, November 6th it is, Monday. Okay. Now, we're on to the application for the site plan approval for the 52 units. This is a plan, this is the family residential community known as Spruce Brook Apartments. And did you want to?
Sure.
Sure.
So in terms of the draft motion that you have before you, I have heard comments that you would like to see some additional reasons or proposed reasons for denial that relate to the affordability plan, as well as the deed restriction. And there are other items other than that that come to mind, and I did also note, Mr. Zigma, as well, the essentially the history of affordable housing,
Good.
if you will.
Good.
Yeah, under number 1 for the health of the residents, I think, the inadequacy of the, dumpsters is, comes to mind because, you know, you're gonna have people dragging their trash across the entire site. The people who have the handicap units in the center, they could have difficult access to that dumpster, and which is how many units in total with that one little dumpster, even if you empty it on a pretty much a daily basis, I still don't know if it's sufficient. And if you start having trash, you know, overflowing, I think that could be a health risk to the residents. And then number 2, for safety, having the lack of access to the public transit for the school system, for the children to get to the turnpike. That's a concern of mine as well. Those are 2 things that.
Anyone else want to add anything in?
Just a couple things.
Yes, go ahead, Diane.
just so that if we find ourselves with a judge reviewing our motion, um, we did offer an alternative suggestion for to the applicant to consider with respect to making adjustments so that the grading would be less steep to the property, that the applicant rejected that suggestion. And that under item D, the proposed access and maintenance shelf discussions being, for that maintenance shelf being insufficient to accommodate the emergency apparatus by increasing the size of that maintenance shelf, it would have significantly changed the grade of or the slope to the top of the retaining walls to be non-compliant, was my recollection, because there was going to be a slope of something like 2 to 1.
Mm. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we had, okay,
Inability to, the fire access in the rear, inability to ladder the building to the 3rd and 4th floor windows, bedrooms, and to the roof. According to the federal firefighter standards, there's not enough room to ladder the building. Any of the buildings, actually.
okay, thank you.
It's the 4th floor windows, even though it's a 3-story building, it's the 4th floor in the rear.
And I think we covered the egress and, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, Joe.
I think there was comment made during public hearing too, with only one access to a 4-story building.
Mhm. Yep,
And
the
the
egress and-
concern for that.
When safety. Anyone else, anything else we missed in this? I think we're doing okay. All right. Okay,
Did the length of our 40 years versus
that's the
text
text
amendment?
amendment, along with the administrator, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the wall, the maintenance of the wall, the height of the wall.
How about the parking around the circle that is at the, are we, which property is that?
No,
No, Spruce Brook.
no, you're thinking of 1676.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So, would you like us to include, the affordability and affordable housing matters that you've raised tonight
mhm.
in both the text amendment?
Yes.
as well
Absolutely.
as the site plan?
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely.
I thought we already had that in here. That's why I didn't say
Yeah.
anything.
Anything else? So,
Okay, I'll make a motion.
fine.
I'll make a motion to continue the application for site plan approval to permit a 52-unit multifamily residential community identified as Spruce Brook Apartments on real properties known as 1906 Berlin Turnpike to a special meeting scheduled for November 6th at 6 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Dorsey. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Hamel. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. Now we're moving on to the application of Little House Living LLC, prepared by Christopher J. Smith Esquire. Alter and Pearson LLC submitted pursuant to general statutes for Connecticut Affordability Housing Land Use Appeals 8-30G. Under this item, we also have the proposed zone text amendment to create the 11 EE planned residential infill development inclusionary multifamily. with the housing opportunity or workforce housing component. And also we had the application for the site plan approval to permit for 20 units for the multifamily residential community on real property known as 1676 Berlin Turnpike. Map 22-1, block 114, lot 10.
So on this matter as well as the next one, so both the text amendment and the site plan, I would like to give you a couple of options. You will note that you do have an executive session that's also been included in your agenda. That was done at my request with regard to the pending appeal concerning your prior denial of a different application, a non-affordable application for this property. And I would like to again offer you two options. I would like to speak to you in executive session regarding the pending appeal. And as well as update you with regard to the mediation that was held today on 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates versus your commission. Both matters are included in the executive session items that are appearing on your agenda. We can have that discussion now, and then you can decide what you would like to do with the text amendment and the site plan deliberation for 1676. Or I would like to make the recommendation as an alternative to you that you simply continue deliberation on those two applications for 1676 Berlin Turnpike to your next regular meeting, which is November the 16th. So I give you those options. I would like to speak to you in executive session with
I'd like to make a motion to take the executive session 8, 1 and 2 to be brought up to be 6B area before this application. Move it to that point, gotta go in executive session now.
So you're moving to amend the agenda,
Right,
move the executive session items up
move it up.
for consideration at
Yes.
this moment?
You're inviting.
No,
Well, no,
moving to
this
amend
is
the
the
agenda.
agenda.
Is a moving to amend the agenda, so we have a motion to amend the agenda.
Yep.
Do we have a second? Second. Right, do we have further
Well,
discussion?
so we have all these folks here
Yeah.
that are interested that if we go into executive session, we have to ask them to leave and then
Can
come
right
back. And while I recognize it's an inconvenience, I think it would be less of an inconvenience to just continue and know that we have to take action on the next meeting. So is November, well,
Don't technically,
know that we'll truly be deliberating the topic at the next regular meeting. Right, so that's November
Or
16th.
extension.
November 16th.
What else do we have, what else do we have, what else are we knocking back here? In other words, if we go into executive session now, we have no idea how long we're gonna be in executive session.
Correct.
Well, D and E is no longer. F is
We only have the
F is
cannabis.
small.
So the only thing that would be pushed off is the cannabis, and that
Cannabis
would be
and
after.
after approval.
And then
approval.
propose, how about the Oakland developers at Savage
That's
Hill?
December.
That's,
That's moved
why is it here?
December.
That's in
Meeting.
December.
Would we be able to move the cannabis to our next meeting?
I think that's.
Nah, I think
that'll be
that's
2 minutes.
gonna be,
That's a 2-minute thing.
we're probably gonna do it. All right. What do you think? Continue this. I mean, I just
I'd
don't want
rather
to make
listen
this,
to our attorney. Before we do anything.
what we're
on subject,
That's
yes,
what-
that's why,
what
that's why I'm moving it up front out here.
So,
Personally, I think ultimately, looking at the dates, we have to decide on the text amendment by the 25th, but the site plan application we have till the 23rd of December.
please.
So I would agree with Commissioner Jorsey because I think I think there's more work, I mean, we don't know how long it's gonna go. And I think there's more work to be done on whatever decision we make. Rather than keep everyone here till midnight again, if we just continue it outright and deal with our executive session, then we can just hit the ground running next time and deal with it.
Well, when we come back into the meeting, either of the items can be brought to the Monday special meeting or the next regular meeting. You know, we can make a decision then. When we come back from the executive session, we can make a decision on what we're going to do. If we're going to act on it, not act on it, move it to the next meeting, whatever. So,
I think the public would like to know now, though, so.
Yeah.
well, the public could be without whatever time we're in executive session that has to be, so.
What we're suggesting is to not make them hang out and wait.
Well, they've been waiting a lot.
I know they haven't. We don't want to keep,
They've been waiting a lot of months. I don't know what they,
I know, but. Yeah. Okay. So we have a motion that's laying on
And we'll
the table
second
right
this.
now. And the motion was to
Simply
move up,
Amend the agenda.
to amend the agenda. We had a second to amend the agenda. So further discussion on amending the agenda. So all those in favor, say aye.
better take a roll call,
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to take a roll call.
take a roll call.
Or those opposed,
Aye.
aye. So there was just three of us opposed.
Oh.
It was a 4-3, so
Three.
it was a simple majority.
June Daily. So this, so I get the motion clear. This is the motion to amend the agenda to move up the executive session.
Right,
Aye. June Daily, aye. Jim Ziegler,
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Dorsey.
I nay.
Writing as fast as. I
No, that's
can.
okay.
Rogan,
Right.
Sandra Millard. Aye. Scott Hamel.
So,
it's 4-3.
so it's a simple majority, so we adjust so now we go into executive session, right? So, I'll,
I would ask that you include Mr. Tralder as well as myself in your motion to join you and Ms. Juicy. And Mr. Tralder, we will call you.
okay, hopefully he can hear that.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session inviting our council, Maureen Juicy and Glenn Chalder.
And Jennifer Coppola, along with the regular commission members and alternates.
Jennifer's our counsel.
So we have a second further discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. All right,
Mr. Biella, we will call you as well. Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure. I mean, as we go into executive session, I know that you cannot participate in this, the audience. And I can't even tell you how long the executive session will take. I do need to clear the room. And I mean, if you want to go downstairs into the lobby area.
Got
and
some
then we
nice
can call-
couches down there.
Then we can call you back up when the executive session was over. And we'll continue with the agenda. So
It's not. Miss Allstrand, unfortunately, that would not have been appropriate. They needed to determine whether or not they wanted to proceed with the executive session first. They needed to take a vote on that. And it would have been inappropriate for us to do that at the beginning of the meeting. It had to be reached in due course. It was under old business. I empathize, I do. But it's unfortunate.
Shut the doors.
So
yes. If you just down to the lobby, just down to the main rotunda. And we'll send somebody down there for you.
So I have to figure out how to pause the recording, so, or well, I can pause the recording, but how to
Well,
pause the Zoom meeting.
all right.
I've not done before, but I do know there's a way to do it. It'll take me a minute. to
I
figure that
guess,
Out.
guess you just mute us all and then
Mute the whole thing.
if you mute the whole thing and then we call.
Turn the screen.
Her,
Okay,
hold on. Poor Diane. You're not gonna wanna come back. Where would I be without you? I'd be looking around. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to exit executive
I
session.
will make a motion to come out of executive session and resume our agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and this is at 10:33. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Hamel. Okay. And all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, so moved. All righty. So where are we on this? We are on the application of the little houses. So,
Okay, it is with regret that I make the motion to continue the item of the proposed zone text amendment to create new section 11EE planned residential infill development, inclusionary multifamily residential use with a housing opportunity or workforce housing component for the application of Little House Living LLC to be on November 16th.
okay, we have a motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogan. Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Okay, then
Yep.
for the
and,
application,
regretfully again, it is my motion to continue the item of application for site plan approval to permit a 20-unit multifamily residential community on real property known as 1676 Berlin Turnpike in relation to the applications of Little House Living LLC to November 16th.
we have a motion by Ms. Jorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. Next up.
And I need to make a motion also to add to the agenda of the executive, add to the agenda of the special meeting scheduled for November 6th, to add an executive session item to discuss the status of pending litigation of Little House Living at 1676 Berlin Turnpike, as well as the 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates
Okay,
matters.
all righty. We have a motion by Ms. Jorsey.
What's
Do we
the
have a
date? What's the
second?
date?
November 6th.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Daly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved.
And the time on that special meeting for Monday, November 6th, again, is 6 p.m. It will be noticed tomorrow and the location hopefully will be here
Okay,
in town council chambers if it's available, but the
and-
notice an agenda of special meeting will confirm that location.
And that will be an executive session.
Yes, for the executive session on those two pending litigation matters that Commissioner Jersey just motioned,
Mhm.
as well as the continued deliberation for the text amendment and the site plan application for 1906, 1934, and the unnumbered parcel.
Okay, thank you. All right. We didn't need a motion on that. Okay, that was just for clarification. All right, so the last thing that we have to deal with is the proposed text amendment of the planning and zoning staff on behalf of the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the Berlin zoning regulations 11 special regulations with a new subsection for the prohibition regarding cannabis establishment uses.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed text amendment of the planning and zoning staff on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission to amend the regulations, section 11, special regulations with a new subsection for prohibition regarding cannabis establishment use.
Second,
All right, a second by Mr. Zigmont. Further discussion on that matter. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, so moved. And Maureen, will that be taken into effect, the cannabis prohibition? Does it go into effect immediately? Okay. Excellent. All right. And I think that concludes.
I do want to just clarify that with you.
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
was. And then the other item was, this has already been pushed off
That's-
to December.
Yep.
Mhm,
Planner comments.
that's it. Planner comments, you got a lot of them.
No.
With was any further feedback you may have on the text amendment. With regard to building square, you might recall that we asked for some direction at the last meeting so that I could notice it. And then as I was putting it together with some of the, looking at other regulations, I found, some items that I added, hoping, to prompt your thought processes as to whether they should be included in consideration, and not necessarily, recommending that they be included or not. So the first portion of the regulation is to clean up where the square can be on the lot. And that's where I added the line, the square may extend to the property owner. Alternatively, you have the ability to instead put it as a waiver. It's at the point that when you think appropriate, the applicant is shown as appropriate to extend to the setback, the required setback. That in that regard, and there was some discussion as to whether that's appropriate in, it's enough information to give people, you know, when they're like a design. Great. Then I added the provision, based on some research and looking at others, and again, we'll discuss this all during, this will get vetted during the public hearing. And I believe you'll have some comments, from the public with regard to it, but I want your feedback on the, not extending into easements or right of ways that's found in the regulations that we reference, we look forward for guidance. And one of my thoughts on that was like conservation, but there may be easements that people can do things in as well. That you wouldn't want to, you just decide whether. So. It's just another provision I added to, and then go on to put this out after.
We all are.
And then it's where you have the asterisk. Again, this goes back to where they extended the property line. What qualifying when the building permit is due inside is going to a lot size. Taking out the. So that seemed to be the cost of it. The last part of the amendment, and the amendment is identical for both subdivision regulations and zoning regulations, except that it's last bold underlined text, which is square, which then honestly was left out of the typing. Last version of the regulations. Left that thing there. To accept to pursue the building. We're sorry for that mistake. Because of the regulations. Again, just some feedback if that does, oh, I added tree development, so one of the purposes, I understand, it's very hard to find purpose for written out, for buildings where otherwise known as several other types of buildings, sometimes it's a rectangle, sometimes it's the regular, what was that other term that we found more often? The building shape. Shape, yeah, shape, a lot shape, had more to do with lot shape. And as I understand, it has to do with, or rather what I gleaned from the information was, uniformity of building sites to fill probably a period of time when people were getting very creative with their building shapes and sort of lay out subdivisions in more orderly fashion. The regulations seem to be to identify environmental concerns. Well, topography, wetlands, which was taken out of this regulation in 2016, so I chose not to put it back in, because that was the purposes of that 2016 amendment, but want to make sure that the points were interested in including or not, and then we'll be either post it this way, or I can tweak it further and have time to post it with the and I just wanted that to be because I did put things in because I thought that I think it accomplished it, because if we're gonna, so I dropping
Bless you.
to amend the regulation so that it is clear, and then another, we've done it a couple of times over the course of its life since 19, because I think the depth lot was taken out in the early 90s. Let's get it as close to right, so we're not doing it again here.
I'll be honest with you, I can probably tell you more about this on Monday. But I don't know if,
The approach you're using is sound.
And then,
It
and
is?
again.
Oh,
this
if she
is
says
all
it is, I don't know how
public
I'll-
hearing, so, you can make
Yeah.
modifications to it during the public hearing processing, your deliberations, regardless.
But
If you find something, if you're not, I just thought if there was some direction you didn't like to be going, or you thought something wasn't clear enough. I actually started our last meeting when we talked about this, but we said we were gonna. Notice just as long as people stayed within the setbacks, and now it looks like we're saying they don't have to stay. But that's actually. So what? Yeah, it was vice versa. But it is. And interpreted that in this language as being not clear and allow the subdivision. And board
Well, I think they
There's
encroached
some-
because of something about topography there. That's why they encroached.
So we were saying the building square doesn't have to be within setback, but any single structure, shed, pools, houses,
Yeah.
all
has to
that
be-
still has
okay,
to be.
Has
within
to be
setback.
within the setback.
Thank you. Yeah, the square is more about shaping the lot, and it's the structure is. I won't say potatoes and that's just. Hold up the next later or other large. So that's too good information. And that's